Hello, viewers of the Mountain Pacific Sports Federation fencing event. This is Andrew Fischel, and today we're going to be watching fencing from all 6 of the weapons. The format today is semifinals and finals only for each of the weapons, and the seeding for the semifinalists was determined yesterday at the regional championship. So basically everyone who was top 4 at the event is going to fence today. And in the first round, we have women's foil and men's epee. But right now, we're going to be watching a little bit of women's foil. So on the far strip, we have Maia Slowinski and Rafaella Gomes. And on the close strip, we have Haley Koo and Sofia Raso. We're going to watch the far strip at the moment because that's the more high-scoring bout. And so you see Maia Slowinski on the right and Rafaella Gomes on the left. If you've never watched fencing before, there are 3 different types of fencing, and the one we're watching now is called foil. In foil, you're allowed to hit only with the point, and you can hit anywhere on the silver jacket called a lame. It's also a turn-based weapon, which means that if both people hit and it's the turn of the fencer, then the person whose turn it is gets the point. And in foil and saber fencing, you can tell whose turn it is by who is moving forward. So early in the bout, the 2 fencers are still trying to evaluate each other, see what areas the person is weak or strong at parrying, different angles that they're having a hard or easy time hitting. And so you're going to see the fencing be a little bit more conservative in the beginning. That was a very nice close distance touch by Slowinski. Another infighting touch. Infighting tends to happen a lot in foil more than the other 2 weapons. And that's when the 2 fencers get so close to each other that they can't hit each other with a full extension, and instead they have to bring their arm back. So then they're infighting right now. So that creates a totally different scenario where they just have to find an angle to hit each other in any way possible. Another infighting touch. And so right away, Gomes seems to be getting a lot of those touches by stepping into close distance and hitting on the way out. Let's see if she tries it again. She did not. another attempt at Gomes to hit and run away, but this time Maia was able to hit off target, which still gives you right of way, but does not give you a touch, so it's just a halt. So it's almost like an empty point. Foil's the only weapon that they have off targets. In Saber, if you hit not valid target, nothing will happen. And in Epee, everything is valid target. And because of the way the circuit is created, you can even hit the floor and you'll still get a point. So that's something that the referee has to watch for, and that's one of the reasons that the strips are made of metal, so that if you do hit the grounded strip, it will not register a light. And there's a similar infighting action to the one I was saying before, where she kind of creates a little more space for herself when she makes the hit. There's a lot of infighting in this bout. That time the referee says that right started a little bit ahead of left. Left kind of pulled her arm back, and so right hit into that motion, but hit off target. So that's another empty touch. And another off target. These two are having a really hard time hitting each other with their first attack, which is why you're seeing so much infighting in this bout. Another attempted hit and run away by Gomes results in another off-target light. And another, the same thing. I think she's gotten 3 or 4 red lights doing that action. In foil and epee fencing, there are 3 3-minute periods. So these two are going to their end of their first period, which means they have a 1-minute break. So we're going to head over to the C strip, where the second period is about to start for men's epee. Now, this weapon is completely different. It is similar in that they both hit with the point, but in epee, the lockout timing is much shorter, and there are no turns. So it's just the person who hits first gets the touch, and if both people hit at the same time, both people get a touch. So leads in epee are much more valuable for multiple reasons than they are in the other weapons, but a 10-3 lead is almost insurmountable. And oftentimes it's because when you are leading, you can go on defense, which is a much stronger position for most fencers in epee. So once somebody tends to get a lead, you'll see that the other person then has to take risks like that in order to attack. And so what the right fencer just did is a very kind of stylish touch called a back flick. Even though you have to hit with the point, you can kind of snap the weapon and use your wrist as a fulcrum in order to be able to create an angle and still hit with the point, but do it when the weapon is curved. And wow, Spier is really completely running away with this one. Wow. And like I said, in epee, you can hit anything, and even the foot is target. So you just saw Spier hit Han on the foot. And a double ends it. So our first finalist is Julian Spier from UIW. And since there's an injury timeout on D, I think we're going to head over to the A strip, where we have Haley Koo and Sofia Raso fencing each other. Koo is on the right, Raso is on the left. Now, one of the immediate differences that you'll notice having just seen a little bit of epee is that foil, there's a lot more back and forth, and the reason for that is because of the lockout timing that I mentioned earlier. Now, what that means is when both fencers hit each other, they can get a light, but only to a certain point. And so if, for example, left fencer hits and then right fencer hits a full second later, she won't get a light, and that's what we call the lockout timing. Now, I believe the lockout timing in foil is 320 milliseconds, although I'm not positive on that. In Saber, it's 170, and in epee, it's absurdly short. I think it's 4 milliseconds. So because foil is the longest, they can take a few more risks and move around a little bit without risking just getting hit and getting timed out, as we call it. But in women's foil, defense is also a very strong position. That was a nice touch. So in foil, when you show that you're going to one area and you move your foil in a small circle to hit to another one, that's called a disengage. And that was a very beautiful disengage by Raso, showing that she was going to hit Koo to the flank, and I'm sorry, that she was going to hit Koo to the chest and went around to her flank. And the flank is under the arm. It's a very hard target to hit, requires extremely precise distance and a very accurate angle. It's a very confident touch. So in fencing, there's a couple ways you can take the turn away from someone who's attacking you. One is they can miss. Two, they can get parried, which is when the blade is blocked. And three, when the blade is blocked when an attack is made. And three, you can do what's called a prise de fer, which is where you proactively attack the blade as the defender. And if you knock it out of its position, the attacker loses right of way. So you just saw Raso go for a prise de fer there. But it's very difficult for these two to hit each other, which is why you see a lot of them kind of giving up their attack on purpose, because they don't feel confident in the attack that they're developing in order to be able to hit the person. So instead of trying to work with an angle that the other person might give them, they're trying to probe and find an angle, and if they don't, they just kind of break off their attack, move back, find more space. That was a nice touch. So Raso thought she had an angle, started moving forward. Koo parried her, and then Raso immediately hit and closed out, which is where you hit the person and then use your foil as a barrier in order to make sure the other person doesn't hit you. Usually that's accompanied by a twisting motion to hide part of your valid target. So it makes it very difficult for the person to hit you because part of the target that you just had available disappears, and because there's a wall in one sector, you can't finish to that spot either. And so sometimes in that situation, they get into infighting, but because of the way the touch develops, the foil will get stuck underneath someone's arm, and when that happens, they just call halt immediately. We're going to actually go over to B, which is a slightly closer bout than the one we're watching at 12-12 between the UIW fencer Maia Slowinski and Rafaella Gomes. Oh! So that was an instance where Gomes tried to parry, but Slowinski had a better angle. And that time, Slowinski rushed in without developing her attack, and Gomes actually hit and stepped into it. So suddenly, she was closer than Slowinski expected and wasn't able to complete her attack. And that time, she had her own attack, but again, Gomes steps in and missed. So excellent use of crushing distance there by Gomes. And we're going to go back to A quickly because that is also kind of winding down. Although there's only 13 seconds left in the second period, so I don't think we're going to see the end of the bout right now. Yeah, they've decided to let the rest of the period go. So we're going to go over to the D strip because these two are going to take their minute break now. It's kind of hard to tell because the scoring machine is so tiny, but I think the score is 8-4 with 1 minute and 18 seconds left in the first period. It looks like these two took an injury timeout earlier, so they're slightly behind the other strips right now, at least as far as periods go. Something wrong with the right fencer's equipment. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but So this is Matthew Hahn from Air Force on the right and Vedran Markota from UCSD on the left. And Markota is currently up 8-4, which again is quite a large lead in Epee. Another double. So Han doesn't gain any ground there, and it just kind of puts Markota a little bit closer to winning the bout. Han is trying to find a way in here, but Markota seems very comfortable on defense, just giving up ground. He found a way in that time, though. By showing he was going to go low, getting him to commit just a little bit, then going over the top, he was able to score that touch there to the high arm, I think. You could hear, maybe you could hear his coach just say 20, indicating there's only 20 seconds left on the clock. Makes an action that was apparently a little bit predictable because Markota was able to double him out, which is what you call it when someone starts an attack and the winning fencer just hits in such a way that they get 2 lights. So again, that doesn't really do anything for Han, and Markota is happy to do that. So now that they are taking their first 1-minute break, we're going to head back over to the Koo and Raso bout, which is 13-9 for Koo. Oh, nice attack. And Koo shows that she's going high and then finishes low. And Raso tries to counterattack into that, but because it's 2 lights and it is Koo's turn, it's Koo's touch. Nice touch again. That bout was pretty even for quite a while, but Koo really broke it open in the second part of that bout. And so now we're turning to the D strip, where we're waiting for Matthew Hahn and Vedran Markota to resume. The next round will be women's saber and men's foil individual. Saber is the fastest of the 3 weapons. It's the only one of the weapons where you can hit with the entire length of the blade. And because epee and foil is a point-only weapon, there's much more precision involved in how you hit the person. And because of that, both weapons are slow for slightly different reasons. But because it's so easy to actually hit valid target in saber, the 2 fencers will be very, very fast, much faster than what you're going to be seeing here. Right now, we're rejoining this 10-7 bout that Markota is leading. So Han is trying to find his way in. Markota does a little bit of active defense there, but seems very content to just wait for an attack to come to him. Nice touch. When you're on the back line like that, you have to be a little bit proactive because there's no more space to give up. If you go off the back of the yellow part of the strip with both of your feet, it's a point for your opponent. If you go off the side of the strip with even one of your feet, you go backwards 1 meter and restart to the point, and restart the point 1 meter back. A double somehow. So Han got parried there, but was able to hit with a fast remise, which is a second action after your attack very quickly, and was still able to get 2 lights on that one, which was impressive, but it doesn't help him get any closer to winning this bout. I'm not sure exactly what that was. I think he thought his weapon was loose or something was wrong with it, so he called halt. Or rather, he asked for a halt and the referee called halt. Another double. So at this point, Markota doesn't have to do anything other than what he's already doing. And it's up to Han to figure out a way to break his defense, which is hard because he's so tall and he really seems comfortable here on defense. And you see Han is trying a lot of different actions. He's trying a quick flush, he's trying to beat the blade, he's trying to parry Markota's attack, which is called a counter time action, but nothing he's doing is resulting in 1 light, other than the touch that we saw, I think, at the beginning of this period. Or at the end of the last one, I guess. And that's it. So in the next round, we're going to have women's saber and men's foil individual events.